finally happened! But before we get to that moment, hello, my name is Luna and I'm here to break down everything that happens in Critical Role and point out all the details and hidden references you may have missed. So make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown. We are almost at 20,000 subscribers, which is incredible. It would be really cool to reach that goal by my birthday, which is in just 2 weeks. So yes, please subscribe. All right, let's get into it. And first, we're going to talk about the tiger in the room. This was not related to the ad read at all, like you might expect. Instead, this is part of Sam's ongoing gag to repeat outfits from previous campaigns. And in campaign 2, episode 65, he wore a tiger costume for an ad spot. So yeah, that's what that is. If anything, I respect Sam Riegel's commitment to a bit. Following the wild and chaotic reunion of last week, Belle's Hells finally have some time to talk about their different experiences, and Laudna in particular is upset and angry that while Team AOL had a truly awful time trying to get back to the other group, Team Wildmount, from her perspective, had a pretty fun time.
You came back with you have a boyfriend now?
Whoa.
You all had a little tryst? A little,
Yes.
little menage a trois?
You gotta just let off some steam sometimes.
Ashton and Oram chime in too, saying that they're glad the other group had a good time, but it's still hard to hear, and I think that this is totally reasonable. It's gotta sting to hear that your friends were off having threesomes with new friends while you had to kill someone that you thought was a friend. This moment seems to really hit FCG, who talks about how they got swept up with Frida and sort of took their eyes off the prize.
And you fell in love.
I
That's
did. I'm
fantastic.
sorry. I know I don't. Maybe it wasn't love though. Maybe it was just synapses and circuitry.
Stop it.
Lust.
No, it was probably just nothing. Forget it. It's fine.
And Deanna
All
was
jokes aside, FCG and Frida's romance really did feel like those sort of early romances you have when, you feel like you've never related to someone more in your life and you get so caught up and involved with each other that everything else just kind of fades into the background and you have to do everything together. When you get all kind of clingy. And that's not to diminish that romance at all, but I think it makes a lot of sense since this is probably the first romance either of these two characters have had since they came back, online. Hopefully FCG won't dismiss it entirely and they will get some time at some point in the future to spend more time with Frida, when their lives aren't being threatened constantly. FCG still has a lot of stress points accumulated and they're on the edge of snapping at any moment, and it's clear that all of them are pretty burnt out. Ashton says they think it's important for all of them to have some time to wind down and that they could all use, just time to relax and recharge and remember what's important. So they do decide to just take a day or two to check in with some people and, just take a breath. Before splitting off to do that though, they discuss their next move and Oram asks the group if they would be up for a trip with him to his home, Zephrah, where Keyleth is.
You lot back here. Would you guys be up for going home with me?
Having access to this teleportation stuff is going to be so game-changing for the rest of the campaign. I remember when in campaign 2 they got access to teleport and it felt like it sort of opened up the whole map. It's like when you're playing a video game and you unlock the tower or, the waypoint that reveals the map and lets you zip about more. It's very satisfying. Of course, they are still limited by the number of charges the staff has, but at least they won't need to go around asking every high-level NPC they know for a teleport, like poor Essek. So the party split off to do their various things, and first we head with Ashton and FCG to go and see Milo.
Looked like he freshened up a bit, but also a little bit like shit than when we left off. I gather there's a story here. What's going on?
Milo tells them that their magic is kind of messed up and a lot of the things that they've made and enchanted have stopped working. We saw this play out in Uthadern and we have seen this play out somewhat in Dressar with the gondolas not working. So it's just again confirmation that magic everywhere is pretty messed up. Ashton, being very cryptic as Ashton is wont to do, gives Milo his hammer asking if they can make some modifications to it, which we find out later in the episode are to attach some of the sort of residuum-like crystals from the verdant tomb, as well as incorporating an immovable rod into the handle. I can't wait to see how Ashton uses it in the future and all the kinds of shenanigans. The immovable rod is such a fun magic item. Can you not, cats? Ashton also asks Milo to let him know if they hear from any of the old crew, the Nobodies. FCG and Milo converse briefly about Ashton's new positive outlook on life.
I don't like this behavior. Well, I like it, which is what I don't like about it because it's positive and
Scary,
healthy.
right?
Yeah. Doesn't seem right.
No, but weirdly, the most right it's ever felt, which seems wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm deeply conflicted, but equally excited.
It's true, Ashton has had a fairly big turnaround from their more cynical and jaded attitude of previous episodes, especially since what happened with Bordor. FCG is kind of freaked out by this attitude, mainly worried that it's Ashton acting this way because they think they're gonna die. But it genuinely does seem like Ashton has had a bit of a breakthrough.
You know how you just can spend all your fucking time telling people to do a thing and you're doing it because it's
it's what you need to do, where you just see your fucking shit on other people all the fucking time.
Sure.
Well, I learned a lot these last few days, and I saw a lot of shit, and I thought about my life and the people who have been in it and the things that have happened to me from every fucking moment, and decisions. I think we're all gonna have to be the people we need to be to make this, to do something. This is, I don't know. I don't wanna be worthless right now. This is not a time to be worthless.
Character growth, we love to see it. I actually noticed a really neat and also kind of sad parallel here. This whole experience with Ashton has left them with a more positive outlook on life and a feeling that what they're doing matters, whereas Aurum, who sort of started out with that kind of perspective, has gone almost the opposite way, feeling like they have to do what they have to do and it's almost futile to try and worry about what is right. It's like Ashton has turned on their caring heart and Aurum has turned theirs off a little bit, or, you know, turned it down at least. Next we head with Imogen and Laudna as they go and visit Judana, the woman they were boarding with all the way back at the beginning of the campaign before they joined up with Bell's Hells.
Oh my goodness. It's so good to see both of you. It's been quite some time. Oh.
Imogen makes some tea and they have a little catch up with Judana saying that she has taken up painting, which is very sweet. She also says it's been a little scary in Dressar with the current events and she hasn't been shopping in a while because there is a lot of strange soldiers around. So Imogen and Laudna set out to get her some groceries. While they are shopping, they finally talk to each other. They both apologize to each other for things that they said and their mutual sort of feelings of like jealousy and just kind of this weird vibe that's been there. Imogen talks about how strange it is because she can't hear Laudna's thoughts anymore because of the circlet that she's wearing which blocks out other people's thoughts. And then it finally happens.
You don't have to listen in to get my thoughts. I'll always share them willingly. You can just ask.
Can I kiss you? I can't tell if it's all right or not anymore.
All right. All right.
All right, so I will. I do. I kiss her.
Describe it.
No!
Describe
This is what use your imagination.
Paint with your words, Matt.
I will Continue your scene.
I'll describe it.
God, no.
We have been waiting for so long for this. Now, I saw a lot of people on my Twitter and my Discord wondering what Imogen meant by I can't tell if it's alright anymore, and we got a lot of great insight about this from Laura in a little TikTok that Critical Role posted.
I always hear like Laudna's thoughts of going, oh, there's all this fucking shit happening, you know? So it didn't happen.
It was very sweet.
It makes me wonder how many times there were before this that it could have happened if she'd had the circlet earlier. How many times Imogen was wondering about doing it. Imogen and Laudna both express how the other has been an anchor for them, or like a tether, and how they both felt so lost while they were separated.
When you made me better, and when you weren't there, I did horrible things. I'm afraid I'm a bad person.
You're not a bad person. You're not a bad person.
I kiss her again.
Imogen reassures her that she isn't a bad person, and Laudna shares in more detail what happened with Bordor, opening up about her feelings and her sense of betrayal. She also confides that she thinks Delilah is back and her feelings of guilt around allowing her back in after Bell's Hells went through so much to banish her away. But Laudna also says maybe they shouldn't banish her, maybe they can use her in this current fight. This is sort of something that Imogen can relate to as well, because, you know, she gets her powers from the moon, this like Prodathos being, which is, you know, not a great thing.
Maybe it's our destiny to harness it.
Maybe it's our destiny to fight it.
I guess time will tell.
Together either way.
As they continue their shopping, they see a bit of a hubbub and they hear the voice of none other than Ludinus. He is projecting an illusion of himself over this marketplace, giving a speech trying to rally or convert the people to his cause. Two wardens rush up and find a crystal where the illusion was emanating from that had obviously been planted by a Ruby Vanguard person. When they smash it, the illusion dissipates. The wardens mention that this is not the first time that this has happened, so Ludinus is hustling right now, probably to get as many people to his side as he can. It really feels like Ludinus is setting himself up to be almost a deity himself, and I know many critters out there think that that is his overall endgame. I'm not sure what that means for his relationship with Predathos. Maybe he feels confident enough that he can control Predathos, or maybe he's like cut a deal with him or with it. Who knows? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts. Following this unsettling event, Imogen and Laudna go clothes shopping so Laudna can get a new outfit to match the corset that Imogen got her in Uthadern. Laudna also converts the little dollhouse that Chutney made her into a backpack, which I am obsessed with. I want one myself. I can't wait to see the new character art for this and all of the cosplays. Next, we check in with Aurum, Chutney, and Fern, who go and visit Ajit Dayal.
And that's why it's important to make sure you pay attention when we're teaching you mathematics. And some of the children are like,
There's a lot of it you won't use.
Ajit was the person who told Chutney about the Gorgonite back in episode 22, and this character is actually named after a real person, Ajit George, who is the director for operations at Shanti Bhavan, a charity that the Critical Role Foundation has partnered with. Ajit shares that things have been pretty tense in the city and that there has been a steady stream of military presence from elsewhere since the solstice began. The Quorum has been trying to reassure everyone that everything is okay, but of course, people don't believe it, and Ajit anticipates that violence will increase the longer time goes on. He also shares that a day ago, the leader of Ankarel, Jamon Saud, was here meeting with the Quorum. This is actually an NPC that we met in Campaign 1, and this is a big spoiler warning for Campaign 1. They are actually an ancient brass dragon who has ruled the city of Ankarel for a long time, I think since close to the time of its founding. Jamon was an incredibly helpful ally during Campaign 1, which is why the cast was so excited to hear their name. The last bit of info that Ajit shares is that just like we heard in Uthadern, the magic that kept certain dangerous criminals imprisoned stopped working and they have escaped, including someone called Levtonia, who is the Ivory Syndicate leader. I believe this is the first time we've heard of this person, but we do know that the Ivory Syndicate is a criminal organization which has caused a lot of trouble in Dressar. It is actually rumored that the Chandai Quorum may be in cahoots with them somewhat, since they seem to have been allowed to kind of continue operating, although if that's true, whatever deal there is may only have been stretched so far, since their leader was imprisoned. But another dangerous criminal locked up by magic that has been on lots of critters' mind is, and this is some Campaign 2 spoilers, is Trent Ikathon, another member of the Cerberus Assembly who played a big role in Campaign 2 and was eventually captured by the Mighty Nine in the very last episode. If he has managed to escape, I wonder if we'll see him turn up at all with Ludinus, a pretty terrifying thought. They decide next to head to the Dusk Maven's temple, since Ajit mentioned that a lot of the temples have not been letting people in as much, and that there's certainly some tension or troubles there. On the way to the temple, Chutney catches the scent of something delicious and meaty and has to make a wisdom saving throw.
secrets.
16.
16. You go into a sprint.
Uh-oh.
Chutney immediately starts running towards the source of the smell, with Fern and Aurum trailing after. As he rounds a corner, he sees a dwarven man with a bald head with a sort of blonde grey beard, wearing dark leather armor, holding a pouch that the smell is emanating from. As Chutney approaches, he throws it, and he immediately, Chutney that is, immediately pounces on it.
And he throws this net over you.
No!
This shiny sheen of a metal cable net.
Not silver.
The minute it clusters around you, you can feel your skin kind of burn slightly on contact.
Chutney is restrained by the net, and as Fern rushes up, the dwarf tells her to stay back, as this is a cursed creature, sort of mistaking her for being a general member of the public, but Fern immediately casts Blight on him, and we roll initiative. Chutney is up first, and he uses a blood curse of bloated agony with his bonus action, and then tries to break free of the net, but he can't get free because it's made of silver, and it's burning him, and just kind of making it a lot harder. Aurum rounds the corner, hitting the dwarf with a tripping attack and a nice nat 20, and the dwarf then shoves Aurum and knocks him prone, and begins dragging Chutney in the net further in the alley. Fern yells out, and
Wait, let me just give him a kiss before you take him. Please?
surprisingly, this works thanks to Ashley's 28 persuasion roll, and as Fern leans in to give Chutney a kiss, she casts Stone Skin on him to try and protect him from the silver net. The dwarf realizes what she's done and continues to drag Chutney away, so Fern bamps out Mister. Chutney from inside the net uses his Scythe Turmoil to cast Shatter on the dwarf, and Aurum flips up from prone and tries to use Seedling's Vines to cut the net, managing to cut some of the threads. The dwarf then casts Charm Person on Aurum, just asking him to hold off for a second, and Aurum helpfully obliges. As he continues to drag Chutney, Fern casts Scorching Ray and then moves removes Mr. Chutney, using him to teleport Chutney out. Chutney then casts invisibility on himself. The dwarf, seeing that he has bitten off more than he can chew, tells them Tuyen sends her regards, and Misty steps away. It takes the cast a moment to work out who Tuyen is, but it turns out she is the shopkeep at the Prism Emporium that Chutney bought some woodworking tools off of back in episode 11, and then later in episode 23 he broke into that shop by himself at night, transformed into a werewolf, and threatened her. I remember at the time feeling quite shocked by that action, and honestly, I was just so pleased to hear that there were some consequences of that. I do wonder how this person knew that he was back in town, but I suppose they weren't really being too inconspicuous and were probably seen around the course spire. With Chutney still invisible, they head to the Dusk Maven, aka the Raven Queen Temple, and speak with one of the priests. Aram in particular says he's feeling scared and like he's lost his faith, and the priest responds with a lot of those general statements of sort of like, just needing to have faith. The priest says she can feel the Dusk Maven, but it's a different feeling since the solstice. She invites them to drink from the waters of the waterfall and pray with her. As they kneel before the waterfall, Aram does offer up a little prayer saying that they are looking for answers but hears no response. As they sit and listen to the sound of the water, Chutney looks down and realizes that he's not invisible anymore. They've obviously been here for quite a while, and the priest is gone. It's all a bit like mysterious and spooky, so they decide to leave, and as they head out of the temple,
And the doors of the chamber slam open to a deep red sky that envelops the entirety of the horizon around you. You don't see the street. It just drops down into a familiar excavation site. You see a singular tower of black firing a red beam of noxious energy into the sky. The moon itself feels impossibly close, like it's ominous and oppressive above you, brightening. You see in the middle of this beam a singular black orb, and you just hear a scream that doesn't stop, a scream that echoes across the entire horizon of Exandria. And in that moment, the doors close, but instead of the doors, you just see this massive white mask. And you all come out of your trance, still kneeling before the water.
oh my god, this was such a great jump scare. I literally yelled. I was so shocked by this vision. So Vax is screaming. That can't be good. I'm guessing that this means Vax is in pain, which I don't like. How are they going to get him out of that orb? How did he get it to be? Give us answers, Matthew Mercer. This isn't the first time we've had a Raven Queen vision with the waters of her temple. Vax famously waded into the water, well, it actually turned out to be blood, at a temple in Vasselheim and communicated with the Raven Queen in Campaign 1. Rattled by the vision, they head off to meet with the others and share what they saw. FCG says they all need to bone up on their gods' knowledge, and again they discuss the fact that apart from FCG, none of them really have a strong connection to the gods, and it sort of seems odd that a group of faithless heathens might be the ones to save them. Earlier in the episode, he also points out the hypocrisy of the group going to stop lewdness and save the gods, when just a few days ago some of them killed an Angel of the Dawn Father, which, is a fair point. Laudna says that she is going to place her faith in her friends and the natural spirits of the land, just like the Eilidons, and Aram still maintains that just because some of the gods might be morally grey, that doesn't mean that they should all be wiped out and that they, do have sort of an overall net positive on the world. Ashton, however, is still pretty unimpressed by the gods.
So, yeah, you know what? I am all for faith. And I'm not gonna pick a god. They can pick me. It will be the first one that actually praised me, and maybe I'll fucking answer. I'll wait. They can fucking beg. And I will listen, which is more than I ever fucking did.
Chutney thinks that even if they have different beliefs, they can still work together, and it's okay to have some disagreements, but it doesn't mean, they can't love each other and work together. This is a very nice sentiment, but I don't think we've seen the last of conflict over these different beliefs and perspectives, which, is okay with me. I love hearing them debate this stuff. It's so juicy. Something I want to point out here, which I know a few critics have pointed out, is that Aram and Fern did actually interact with the Wild Mother in EXU Prime, and they have never brought that up with Bell's Hells, and I do wonder if it's just a matter of, Liam and Ashley forgetting that happened, but yeah, I found it really interesting that they've never really brought that up before. Aram obviously has had a couple of moments with the Wild Mother, and Fern also did reach out to her at one point, but yeah, anyway, it's just a little interesting thing. I do wonder if it's ever going to come up. The next couple of days pass by whilst they wait for the staff to recharge. During that time, Ashton goes to pick up their hammer from Milo. Fern attempts to scry on lewdness, but is blocked, probably by one of the anti-scry necklaces that the members of the Cerberus Assembly have. Pate almost outs Laudna and Imogen.
Hi, Imogen! I saw what you did.
And he crawls back in.
What'd you do?
No, shut up.
Shut up. And FCG casts Identify on the harness thing that Team Wildmount found in Malaya's mirror, ascertaining that it is no longer functional, but it actually goes on the back and funnels into sort of the space here between the shoulder blades. This information might prove handy later in case, maybe this turns out to be like a weak spot of Ludinus's or something. But probably the most exciting thing is we get two very important scries that do work. First, FCG scries on Liliana Temelt.
As the familiar feeling of a battering red dust storm of a shared dream you've been in before meets your gaze. Heavy wind blasting around you as this cloud of red dust fills the sky above and the horizon, but not all the space around you. At first glance, you see a woman walking, familiar in the coloration of her hair, long and blowing and tattering through the heavy winds. You see her coat, heavy scarf, goggles on, her face covered as she pushes forward. The other figure, also kind of mask covering their face with like a wrapped scarf, themselves walking with a deep cerulean robe, staff in a withered hand that is kind of blackened in coloration, the long silver hair of Ludinus Deleth, also within this storm walking alongside her, goggles above his eyes, heavy cloaks over their shoulders, whipping and blowing in the middle of the storm. And you see just on the horizon shapes in the middle of this cloud. Structures, buildings. And with a 21, you can just barely see a shape in the sky. A round body of a faint bluish-green coloration. Exandria looms just beyond the dust storm above.
Okay, this is not a drill. They are on the moon. I knew it. I knew we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Okay, so they're walking through a city. There's a city. There's buildings. I mean, obviously we knew there was a city on the moon because we saw it earlier in the campaign, but like, what is the city? Okay, so this is obviously the city. It's got to be the city where the Rylora live, right? But like, who are the Rylora? What are they? I wonder, I've had this theory for a little while, and I know other people have too, but so we know that the gods... We know that the gods worked with the primordials to carve out a chunk from Exandria and lift it up into the sky and make it Rhodus to make the prison. What if there was people living on that chunk and they went up into the moon and then they've sort of like over time, over 1,000 years, they've been sort of like twisted and changed by Predathos. That's kind of my going theory. That's what I think is happening there. I don't know. What's your theory? You let me know. Fern also scries on Ira to see what he's up to, and because they were wondering if he might also be able to do something with like the magical funnel harness thing. And where is Ira?
And find yourself deep within a clustered red dust storm. Not amongst structures. Not amongst others. Alone and pushing through a maelstrom. A stronger storm than they've said. Just trudging through a shaded, intense red nothing. You watch him for a bit, and he approaches and you see a dark shape beginning to arrive. He presses up against the shape and like gives the side of this what looks like a heavy piece of smooth stone, like a massive boulder that has been just smoothed over by the weather on the surface of this realm. Scrapes his fingers across it and then ducks into an alcove. Now outside of the storm, he pulls his arm back. You see his like pure black eyes kind of blink, and this long finger like pushes dust out of the corners of them. Its long ears, and he kind of grins. He turns around and looks at someone. You see another figure kind of approach. Thick kind of partially patchwork armored torso. Material, you're not quite sure what it's made of, but this muscular humanoid figure of deep red skin. This looks like one of the entities that you've seen Imogen bring through, but not ethereal, not energy form, but physical. And it is dressed, and it seems to acknowledge Ira with recognition. You don't see any conversation. It's like they're conversing without words.
Mentally.
Fucking
Cool.
And as it kind of gives a nod, it steps back into the interior of wherever Ira is. And Ira begins to follow just as the spell fades.
Okay, so Ira is obviously working or like collaborating with a Rylora, which again leads me to feel like the Rylora are sort of independent of Predathos. Like maybe Predathos did spawn them or form them somehow, but we know that they all have sort of different like temperaments, just like people do, right? We know that from the dream studies at the Omen Archive. So it does seem like maybe they are like an independent people. They're not necessarily an extension of Predathos. I don't know. I just get that vibe because we know that Ira is not necessarily working for Ludinus's cause, right? Ira is just kind of doing their own thing. And so the fact that they're sort of seem to be working with this Rylora is just very interesting. I need to know what's going on up there. And like, how did they get to the moon? Did they ride up the beam of the Malleus Key? Is this like a beam me up Scotty situation? Are they teleporting to the moon? I need to know. Also, the fact that Ira is on the moon, I just want to know, where is Xandus? It bothers me that they haven't like scried on or sent a message to Captain Xandus. I know they can't really do sending, but I want to know what happened to Xandus. I hope they're okay. After another long rest, they teleport out to Zephrah, and that is where the episode ends.
The wind curls through perpetually. Chilly, but welcoming. And sweet scents of natural earth and other smells you can't quite identify draw you in the direction of this village, where a tall, bright cherry blossom tree sits right at the precipice to your right.
I am so excited to see more of Zephrah and to maybe get some answers from Keyleth. If Keyleth is calling in the other members of Vox Machina and we're seeing the Mighty Nine band together in the October one-shot, Echoes of the Solstice, a full Avengers-style team-up of all the characters seems more and more possible. Obviously, I think Matt is going to find some way to sort of like keep these NPCs, these high-level NPCs sort of on the periphery so that Bells Hills can continue to remain the heroes of the show. But I think, yeah, we are hopefully going to see more of their involvement. As always, let me know your theories and thoughts in the comments, especially your theories about the moon. I did actually make quite a while ago now, I made a video all about your theories about the moon, so maybe it'll be fun to do like an updated version now that we have all of this new information. So yes, give me your Ruidus theories in the comments. Also, I should have worn it today and I realized I didn't, but I actually have a really fun moon t-shirt in my merch store. So here is a picture of it. If you want to check it out, I think it's fun. And then you can make all your friends ask you about the moon and you could tell them all about it. And if you want to get hyped for the Mighty Nine event that's happening in October, why not check out my Mighty Nine reunion special videos right here. Bye!